I'm 680 News senior business editor Mike Eppel. We're not expecting any change in the price for gas here in the GTA overnight, but later in the week we could see a price movement to the upside following that massive explosion at Irving Oil's refinery in St. John, New Brunswick, early Monday. 4 workers injured, and that refinery had already been shut down for maintenance, but that diesel explosion has that refinery potentially on shutdown for the foreseeable future as they try to figure out what went wrong. It's a major producer in the Canadian Eastern gasoline market. Big question, what does it mean for the price at the pumps? Raise that question with Roger McKnight at Enpro.
The problem with this situation is Irving itself, because they're sort of the black sheep of the refining community. They keep everything very close to their vest, and they're very secretive and whatnot, and they don't like releasing information that may give the competition an advantage. 70% of its capacity of refined products, gasoline and diesel, goes to New York State, of New York Harbor, and the New York Harbor prices, upwards and downward movement affects prices in Eastern Canada accordingly because the wholesale prices change. So at this moment, it's up in the air. I suspect that there'll be some upward movement as a result of this incident.
And the price at the pumps tonight is expected to hold at around $1.30 per liter. U.S. President Donald Trump made a lot of corn growers in Iowa and the U.S. Midwest very happy today. The Trump administration removing the restrictions on the use of ethanol in gasoline blends during the summertime. That is a move to appease the farmers who have been hurt by some of the Trump administration's own tariffs that have been enacted and the reciprocal tariffs by China. Now, the energy industry itself is not happy with all of this because the oil producers say there's more than enough oil to be refined into gasoline and we don't need necessarily ethanol. And consumers could bear the brunt of this because if ethanol is made from corn, well, then they're not making it into food products, and that could just lead to higher prices. Cannabis companies making some moves today. From the marijuana files, Aurora Cannabis of Edmonton filing to list its stock in the New York Stock Exchange. It's been one of the high flyers on Bay Street so far this year, and these companies are looking stateside to raise more capital for further expansion. Canopy Growth, the biggest player in the marijuana space, got approval from Health Canada to expand its greenhouse space, 1.1 million more square feet of production capabilities as the producers are ramping things up to meet what is expected to be heavy demand for supply when cannabis is legalized on October 17th. Tale of two housing markets in this country. In Ontario and Quebec, the pace of home construction continues to accelerate, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, meeting rising demand in two of the hottest markets, Toronto and Montreal. Western Canada, very different. Housing starts fell 43% in BC in September, year over year. They slumped in Alberta as well, as those markets continue to react to local factors in BC, all of the rule changes on mortgages that have been slowing that overheated market. In Alberta, it still comes back to the energy trade, and still a very slow rebuild after a number of years of fast growth, but slowed down over several years since. And from the Department of Everything Old is New again, the Commodore 64 back on store shelves just in time for Christmas sales. Retro Games bringing back the C64. Now, it'll be originally loaded with just games, but you can also get a program that can have the original C64 basic programming language. I'm going to try to remember that from back in the day of writing all sorts of essays on the original Commodore 64. This is somewhat reminiscent to what Nintendo has done with the NES and SNES video game consoles, bringing back once popular systems for nostalgic purposes. From the 680 Newsroom, I'm Mike Eppel for City News.